Well, the time is just gone 13 minutes to 9, and we are now going to play out an interview. This was an exclusive for Aafia Media with Dr. Fowzia Siddiqui, who had the opportunity of visiting her sister, Dr. Aafia Siddiqui, after 20 years. And for those of you who missed the interview last night, it is on our social media platforms, on Facebook and also on the YouTube channel, where the full interview and looking at or reflecting on the interview that I had with Dr. Fowzia Siddiqui. This was extremely personal. In fact, it was a very, very touching. It was very, very emotional as well, and especially for Dr. Fowzia Siddiqui, where before at the beginning of the interview, I'd actually asked her what 20 years actually meant for her in terms of the struggle for her family, and also for the children of Aafia Siddiqui. And it's been a campaign that has been non-stop, that has been relentless, it has been tiring, it's been filled with hope. There have been times where it's been a case of hopelessness as well. So all these issues we basically touch on. But the moment when a Dr. Fowzia Siddiqui saw her sister. And this is what we're going to bring to you over the next 10 minutes or so when we play out this interview. And so please take a listen, watch, but you can obviously get the full interview on our social media platforms. So when you are now face to face with the situation, you are seeing your sister behind the glass door. And also, I think, even before you get to meet Afia, just walking through those doors of Castle. And I'm sure, there must have been just so much flashing through your mind, just stepping into this prison.
Yes, brother. I had gone in my mind over, I think, hundreds of scenarios. I watched prison movies, I watched prison horrors, I watched things on YouTube to get myself prepared for what I'm going to see. But FMC Carswell, it precedes its reputation as the U.S. House of Horrors or the legally sanctioned torture chamber. Aafia, unfortunately, is not in the general population. She is in the admin unit, and most of the time with SAMs, which are special administrative measures, which are extreme form of incarceration with very little contact, very little human contact, and the human contact that you have are with these crazy psychopaths or people that are planted. The guards are being vindictive, and it's as but that's not the thing. The guards were very, very pleasant with me, the best that they could, respectful in all means, in all ways with me at the visit. But just when I got in and there was the glass and they had us come in and we were waiting on this side, and it was a small cubicle like room, concrete, with just a glass in the middle and a really thick glass. And then suddenly, I hear a voice, a very distinct voice that was Aafia's that I recognized, and saying, "Why are you bringing me here? What is that?" And they just brought her in, pushed her in, and closed the door. And there she was standing. She looked towards the window, the glass, and she saw me. And I couldn't hear what she said because you have to talk on the phone to hear. But she just, just approached the glass like this. And I just saw that. And when I saw her face, I was just staring at it. And as she came to the glass, I also went to the glass. And for a moment, we forgot that there's something in between. But then reality struck. But, brother, I did not recognize her voice, yes. But I was just looking at this. This is my Aafia. This is my Aafia. This, I don't know what she was saying. I picked up the phone and she did say, "Aapka पहले से भी ज़्यादा पतली हो गई हैं. But other than that, and she was asking how is everybody and that, but all I was doing for a while was just staring. Was this? It looked, to be honest, it looked like they pulled out a skeleton from the grave and just put some skin and, some skin and put eyes in it. That's it. Her teeth,
What sort of
her teeth were
reaction?
gone.
What sort of reaction did did you notice from Afia when she saw you for the first time, Dr. Fowzia?
There was a glimmer in her eyes. The one less than a minute glimmer in her eyes, and then the glass just came, and there was a shine, and then that was it. And then it was just like that. I mean, I was crying, but she was just like, I don't have the words to describe it. It was, I don't know how to describe what that was and what her reaction was. It was just something that's just, I don't have the words. And but then, I mean, she asked about her children. She asked about her baby. I evaded the question about the baby, and I said, first of all, let me tell you about Ahmed. Listen about Ahmed. And she kept coming back to the baby, and I kept going back to Ahmed. And I said, he's a doctor now, and she says he's 6 years old. So she was frozen in time for a bit, and then she's like, oh yes, it's now. So now he's become a doctor. So I did understand that. I mean, I'm a trained neurologist, and I mean, even then it was very difficult for me to say how traumatized she was. And the main trauma was taking her children away from her. And the baby in her lap. Those little children, Ahmed and Maryam, being snatched away. That was the frozen in time, the trauma that was the most devastating. That is the hollow and the lifelessness in her eyes that you could see. There was no twinkle, there was no shine. It was just like what we call in Urdu zindalash, like a corpse sitting in front of you.
And a corpse that is alive.
Yes.
Well, definitely. But, Dr. Fowzia, as you mentioned that you are a trained neurologist, and when this happens to you personally, I suppose, you even forget what you are actually trained for. And just the shock in itself, and I'm sure that you were deeply shocked when you saw. You must have frozen for a while. And like you mentioned, there are times you don't even know what to say. You don't even know how to approach the situation when you are faced with this. And also a case of so near yet so far, because you've got this plexiglass that is separating you and your sister. You couldn't hold her, you couldn't touch her, you couldn't even hug her.
That is very true. That is very true. That's exact. I mean, I think you summed it up better than I could. But other than that, I mean, obviously, it was a 90-minute long meeting. And then the next day we had a meeting with the senator. And the next day I had another meeting alone. The good thing was I could get some money into her commissary, which she got and she was able to use. So that was a good thing. She actually even said that she bought some tea because she liked tea, but in the prison all they get is a coffee, and since her money that we were sending, God knows, was going where. So this money that I transferred immediately, the next day she got it, and so she was very happy about that. She said she got a 6-pack of Dr. Peppers, and cans, and she distributed those to the other few prisoners in the admin unit. So that's Afia. I mean, she gets something, so she has to share with everyone, but that's who she is.
Well, even in that state, Dr. Fozia, you mentioned the term Zindalash, and even in that state, and we know Afia, and when you had visited South Africa, you always spoke about the type of person she was, how caring she was, even for animals as well, animals in distress. And, that quality of hers, and saying that, distributing things amongst the fellow prisoners as well. That's still that quality she still has of being generous and being caring for those around her.
Oh, yes, not only that, I mean, with the senator, she also recited some of Allama Iqbal's poetry. And the senator also recited some that he knew. And so they had a good poetry exchange. And and he was mentioning an ayah from Surah Maryam, and I think he got it a little wrong or something. And after recited the whole ruku, from the surah, and said this is how it is and this is the context. So as far as the Quran goes, and when it comes to her children, the past, when she talks of them as a baby, when she talks about Maryam, and how she would just be clinging to her, and what a clingy baby she was, and how she must be coping, and does she miss me, does she even remember me, and she said maybe it's better that they just forget, and things like that. And but she would come back to asking how Ammi is, and I would just, every time she asked, I would say, Ammi gave you a message that you're not to lose hope, you're to hang in there, and inshallah times will change, and inshallah whatever happens it will be for the best. Ammi said she is watching over you now, and she is closer to you than you can imagine. And I would just say things and say, you know Ammi always does a hisar around you, so you will always be safe. And she used to do that. I try to now, but and just things like that. And then she would say, okay, can you tell Ammi to not worry about me and her health. So Clive, our lawyer, he slowly, gradually was breaking the news to Afia that she's very ill these days, and that's why she couldn't come, and she might not be living for long, and that. So for the next visit, inshallah, we're going to slowly break the news to her, probably. But this time I couldn't. I just couldn't not talk of Suleiman and not talk of that. But Suleiman, Afia herself said that she thinks he's dead because she saw him in a pool of blood.
Well, that was the interview, and really, I must say, it's actually heart wrenching listening to Dr. Fowzia Siddiqui describing her sister as a Zinda Lash, a living corpse, someone who you would take out of the grave and plaster some skin on there and put in a pair of eyes. And that is a condition, that is a state that she had actually saw her sister in. And throughout all of that, her memory, and because she is a hafiza of the Quran, and her memory is still extremely great. In fact, she mentioned the recitation of Surah Maryam and also the context of Surah Maryam, and also towards the end of this particular clip that we had played out. Afia doesn't even know that her mother has actually passed on, and that is news. Dr. Fozia said that the next visit to try and break this slowly, so she doesn't even know that her mother had actually passed on. And this is a sad part. And as I mentioned earlier, the full interview is available on Salam Media's social platforms of YouTube and also on Facebook. So you can go, you can visit these pages, and you can actually watch the full interview. This brings us on to 9 a.m., and we are going to be heading for the news as well. But before that, we still have got Juma inspirations coming through. And this morning, our Honorable Maulana Nasir Mirazi from the Dawah Department of KwaZulu-Natal Jamiat will be providing us with the nasiha and inspiring us on this day of Jummah.